Which sweetener is the healthiest one for you to use? That's the question many people want an answer to. Unfortunately, the question is a bit of a trap because the answer supported by science and an integrative approach to wellness is much more layered than a single answer. In this video, I will walk you through the main categories of sweeteners, tell you what each of them does in the body, tell you my professional opinion on each of them, and help you know what steps you can take to find the right answer for you. Because honestly, the very first and biggest step is learning how to recognize which sweeteners are in your food and then start to suss out what's right for you as it relates to the place sweeteners will have in your diet. My name is Stephanie Dunn. I'm a registered dietitian and the founder of Feed Your Intention. I guide women to nourish their wellness and reclaim their wholeness. For the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about blood sugar regulation, what it is, how it turns into prediabetes and diabetes, and how to control it. Sweeteners is the last piece of the big picture. As we've discussed, insulin sensitivity is reduced during the menopause transition as estrogen declines. This means for us women in midlife, our bodies have to work harder to manage blood glucose. Sweeteners, even the ones marketed as healthy, often add to the blood glucose load and always keep our palates calibrated to want more sweetness. Now look, I love dessert. I am always honest about that. And the reality is that my body simply cannot handle as much sugar as it has in decades past. This became super evident last year when my A1C went into the pre-diabetic range for the first time ever. It was a result of the incredible amount of stress I was experiencing last year, the excess amounts of desserts and treats I was consuming to help me deal with that stress, in addition to therapy and lots of other supporting modalities, and it was my first year of post-menopause. The boundaries for us women in midlife is not restriction or avoidance of all sweeteners forever. Rather, it's understanding what is happening in our bodies and how the various sweeteners impact the bodies we have now so we can make informed choices about how to nourish our wellness right now in this beautiful, sometimes overwhelming phase of our lives. Let's start by talking about artificial sweeteners. The generic names for these sweeteners are things like sucralose, better known as Splenda, saccharin, aka Sweet and Low, aspartame, which is what Equal and NutraSweet are, and acesulfame potassium, also known as Sweet 1. I think artificial sweeteners should be avoided at all costs. They significantly disrupt our expectation of sweetness, leading to even greater sugar cravings. They don't trigger the reward center in the brain, and they prevent the brain from feeling rewarded by any natural sweeteners that come after them. They disrupt the gut microbiome. They have to be detoxified by the liver. And research has shown that regular use of artificial sweeteners is associated with a higher BMI compared to people who don't use them. Like, honestly, I don't think there's a single reason to use them. Now, if you do use them and like them, I understand that could be a hard habit to break. And I really, really encourage you to work toward removing them from your diet, even if you make no other changes based on the information in this video. Next, let's talk about sugar alcohols. Now, before we get into what they are and what they do, I want to clarify that they are not alcoholic beverages and have nothing to do with them. Both have the word alcohol in them because of the common molecular structure where a hydroxy group, which is one oxygen and one hydrogen hooked together, are then connected to a carbon atom. That's the reason the word alcohol shows up for alcoholic beverages, sugar alcohols, and even rubbing alcohol. Sugar alcohols are sweeteners with names like erythritol, xylitol, sorbitol, and maltitol. And they have some pros to their use. One, they contain less calories than other types of sweeteners. Number two, they have a lower impact on blood sugar levels than sugar and other natural sweeteners. And three, they help balance the oral microbiome, which reduces the risk of tooth decay. On the other hand, because we do not digest them well, they can cause bloating for some people and can have a laxative effect leading to diarrhea. As well, because they are lower in calories but not zero in calories, they can lead to weight gain if they are overeaten, just like natural sweeteners. And they do increase blood glucose levels if eaten uncontrollably. Plus, research suggests they could increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. So, while on the one hand they prevent some of the impacts of other sweeteners, we certainly don't have free rein to consume sugar alcohols endlessly. Then there are what I refer to as the processed natural sweeteners. For me, these are the sweeteners that come from nature but have been significantly altered. This includes ingredients that you wouldn't usually buy in the baking aisle to use at home, but have been added to processed foods. Things like corn syrup, glucose syrup, inverted sugar, and dextrose. Now, these processed sweeteners are such a diverse group, and their impacts in the body are also diverse. So unfortunately, this is neither a simple answer, nor could I give you the absolute complete picture, or this video would get way too long. Some processed sugars skip the digestion process altogether, and that means that they quickly raise blood glucose levels. Others disrupt your metabolism by decreasing your satiety, in other words, your brain's feeling of being full, and increase your appetite, while others lead to increased storage of fat in the body. Plus, many of them have just been so processed that they really are the definition of an ultra-processed food and are often included in that category of food. Then we have the natural sweeteners, which are basically sweeteners as they would be found in nature. Some of them are nutritive, meaning they provide calories. These would be like honey, maple syrup, agave, and of course, all the forms of sugar, white, brown, etc. Some are non-nutritive sweeteners, meaning they do not provide any calories, which would be stevia leaf powder and monk fruit extract. The nutritive natural sweeteners cause an increase in blood sugar levels. They can increase the risk of cavities and cancer, and they release dopamine in the brain, which can lead to an addiction, depending on the tendencies within your body, and overconsumption of sweetened foods, looking for those dopamine hits. And of course, they tune your taste buds to want and expect more sweetness in your food. And this last part about expecting more sweetness is true especially for the non-nutritive sweeteners. Stevia is 300 times sweeter than sugar. So while it may not be impacting your blood glucose levels directly, it's certainly encouraging you to consume foods that will. As well, any of these sweeteners that are high in fructose, such as agave, put an extra burden on your liver to convert that fructose into glucose so that it can be used or stored in the body. Now, the upshot of all of this information about the different kinds of sweeteners is this: which ones you choose to include in your diet and how often you include them is highly individual. Except for artificial sweeteners, which I already said should be avoided if at all possible. So how are you going to decide which ones to include? Well, the first step is to start recognizing which sweeteners are in the foods you are eating. Because the reality is that sweeteners go by dozens and dozens of names and are in foods that you might never expect. Ketchup, barbecue sauce, bacon, sausages, bread, bottled dressings, flavored yogurt, granola bars, and healthy, zero-calorie, and keto snacks. And often there are multiple sweeteners in each of these products. So the absolute starting point and the most concrete, empowering habit you can develop, read every ingredient list. You don't need to memorize the chemistry or even all of the names. Just start noticing what's in the food you eat. Then you can start making informed choices about how to adjust what you're eating. Because remember, the goal isn't to find a perfect replacement or the healthiest sweetener or even to avoid all sweeteners forever. The goal is to gradually lower how much sweetness you expect in the food you eat, particularly the foods that are not meant to be desserts or sweet treats. Now, if you've made a conscious effort to reduce the amount of sweeteners that you are consuming for at least 3 weeks and your cravings are still strong, this could be an indication that there is an imbalance in your body. Your taste buds all turn over about every 3 weeks, which means that within a 3-week period, you can impact what you expect to taste. After this point, an unyielding desire for sweetness could be your body's way of saying that something else is off. It could be in your gut, could be related to your metabolism, or it could be being driven by emotional or psychological situations. Rather than white-knuckling your way through this struggle, please consider asking someone to help you. This is the exact kind of work I do with my clients, supporting them as they find the root cause of something that is preventing them from reaching the wellness and the wholeness they want and deserve. If you want to explore what my support could look like for you, feel free to book a 15-minute chat with me. The link is in the description. All right. That is it for this series on blood sugar regulation. I hope you now have a clearer framework to explore your blood sugar regulation, whether you're in perimenopause, postmenopause, or some other phase of your life. Next up, I'll be tackling gut health, which on the surface might sound unrelated, but it's not, because everything in and around our bodies is related. So hit the subscribe button if you don't want to miss out on what's coming next. Until next time, I wish you wellness and wholeness.